What is up, Boss Babes fanatics? This is your host, Brittany Baldi, and I could not be more thrilled. We have yet another brand new episode of the Boss Babes, and you guys know this is not your typical sports show. We have some of your favorite reality TV competitors on here, actresses, actors, and of course, professional athletes. But today, I have one of my good friends. I've known her for close to a decade now. I cannot believe it's been that long. You guys know her as Shelby Yardley. She recently got married, I believe, within the last year or two. She's a freaking mom now. You guys know her from MTV's Are You the One season 2, but she is no longer a reality TV star. She is actually transitioning into films and acting. So, I don't know if you guys watch the TV channel Lifetime, but they have fabulous movies on Lifetime. And I was jaw dropped when I saw Shelby last week post that she was going to be starring in a brand new film, literally starring in the film. And I messaged her and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get you on the podcast. Like, this is so amazing. She plays a character called Brittany Green, and the film is called Driven to Kill. Stick with us. We are going to be talking everything from Are You the One, being a mom, growing up in Kansas, and of course, her new movie and upcoming projects. So, Shelby, my girl, how are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you?
So good. I am so excited to
Good.
have you on here. I know we've always kind of kept in touch through social media,
Yeah.
texting here and there. And I actually know that I got invited to your wedding, and I believe
Yes.
it got scaled down slightly because of COVID. So I cannot wait to hear all about the wedding,
Yeah.
everything in between, and being a mom.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have a lot going on lately, I feel like.
You do. You have so much going on, but I kind of want to give people a slight backstory on how you and I met. So Shelby and I, as you guys know, both of us were on Are You the One? I was on season 1. Shelby was on season 2. So,
Yeah.
Shelby, what do you remember from our friendship? We both actually moved out to LA, which we will speak about later on as well. But what is some backstory on our friendship that you can remember?
I mean, yeah, it definitely started because of the show. I feel like, well, I met Ashley through you. I believe we became friends once I moved out to LA, and you had just, I feel like you had just moved there as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think around the same time. And I think that you maybe invited me to like an event. I just remember we would go to events together, and I think our friendship just kind of grew from there. But I remember specifically going to events together, that one dinner with the heels and fun stuff like that.
Yes, you are correct. So, Shelby, definitely, I have so many fond memories of us moving out to LA together. A lot of us just like decided to, after being on reality TV, dream chase out in LA, and it was fabulous. I
Yeah.
only lasted out there for close to a year and a half, 2 years. But as you mentioned, you're still out there. Ryan Malady from my season is still there. Ashley is still out there.
Yep.
A lot of people are dream chasing, and I love
Yeah.
to see it. Before we get into where you grew up and all of that fun stuff, I wanted to kind of like break the ice a little bit.
Okay.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's fun. I feel like, either flying or being invisible. I think flying. I know it's like a basic one. I feel like so many people probably pick flying, but it's such a good one because you can go anywhere at any time and like be there so fast. I don't know. I just feel like flying, and it'd be so cool to like fly, right?
I feel like that is a very common answer, especially
Yeah.
for people like you and I that travel a ton. I always said that I wish
Yeah.
I could teleport, so it's very similar.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, for sure.
You actually grew up in a small town in Kansas, and
Yeah.
I remember like you and I hanging out and talking in Los Angeles, and you being like, you know what, I just had to leave Kansas because I really wanted to get into acting. But
Yeah.
let's let's discuss your younger years. So what was it like growing up in Kansas? What town did you grow up in? Describe kind of like your home life. Paint the picture
Mhm.
for the Boss Babes fanatics.
Okay, yeah. I'm originally from Derby, Kansas, and growing up, sports was like my whole life. I mean, Kansas is a very big sports state between KU, K State, Wichita State, the Chiefs. We have a lot of sports going on there, and it's a big deal. So growing up, I never did theater. I never even considered anything like that. I remember at one point kind of wanted to model, but I don't know what ended up happening. It just never really happened, I guess. And I don't think my parents really knew how to get me into that, since, the Midwest isn't really a huge market for entertainment. So anyway, so yeah, I grew up in Kansas, pretty much played sports my entire life. And I graduated from Derby and I went to a couple different colleges, KU and Wichita State, and as well as McPherson, actually. I played volleyball there for a bit. And then, yeah, once I was at Wichita State, that's when my whole acting interest started evolving.
What were some of your favorite birthday memories as a kid? I love people learning a little bit more about like your childhood, and like, did you have any favorite dishes that your parents used to cook for you?
My parents are amazing cooks to start off with. They have the best homemade dinners. Like when I go home, that's one of the things I look forward to the most, especially during like holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. They make the best food. My grandma, she is born and raised in Germany, and she makes the best homemade dumplings, like just sauerkraut. Oh gosh, so good. Also, barbecue is great there, so that's always good. But I can't think of any specific dishes. I can just tell you how amazing the cooking is there. And birthday wise, I'd always had like friends there, family. My family is very supportive. Like they would always set things up for me each year, but I can't remember anything specific because they were all so good. I had a great childhood and always loved birthdays and everything that my family always put together for me. They were so great.
And I know we just lightly talked about your parents. I really wanted to bring this up because for the Boss Babes fanatics that are listening, we know that not every family has that traditional mom, dad upbringing.
Yeah.
For example, you actually grew up with two moms. So I want to talk a little bit about that experience. How did that shape you into the gorgeous woman that you currently are now and being a mom?
That was obviously a big deal when we were younger, because now it's so accepted and it's amazing. I'm so happy for all the families that can raise children comfortably now, because back when in my childhood, it wasn't accepted, and I got made fun of, and people would always like ask me questions and be like, but where's your dad? Or why is there always two of them? And yeah, it was always this thing. But then once I got into high school, I think I could tell that things were changing. All my friends loved my parents. They were like so cool. So yeah, I feel like high school is really when it started changing for the better. From there, it's just only gotten more and more accepted, which is amazing. I think growing up with two moms, it's really interesting because I think it makes you a lot more open-minded and accepting of other people. It makes you a lot less judgmental, and I feel like I'm always willing to be open to everything and to always listen to everything and to give everything a chance. And I feel like where that stems from. And now that I have a son, that's a really big thing for me. I want to make sure that he grows up open-minded and knowing that he is always accepted, in our family, no matter what. And he can love anyone he wants, and he can be friends with anybody he wants. And today, that's a really important thing that kids should learn.
I think that is such a fabulous answer. And that is why I wanted to ask you that question, because we see nowadays so many people are starting to, as you mentioned, Shelby, open up a little bit more about LGBTQ community and just being more open to dating who you want, loving who you want, being free-spirited with what you want to wear and self-expression. So I think that is amazing. You are going to teach your son to do the same. Are there any other memories that stick out in particular from your childhood that you would like to share, whether it be like a family vacation that you took or anything spectacular that happened to you when you were younger?
Ooh. I mean, a big part of my childhood, I grew up on the softball diamonds because both of my parents were big into softball. Actually, a lot of my family was. And one of my moms, Kim, she was on a co-ed traveling team forever, and they would like go down to worlds, like I think that's in Florida. They were really good. And I grew up on the softball diamonds. And I think that's always like such a special place in my heart. And it's so cute because Slevin, my son, he He likes to go to the diamonds and throw around a baseball, which I just think is so cute because I never even encouraged it. It just kind of happened. So I've been getting some major nostalgia with that lately. I think that's a really great memory of mine and probably one of the most prominent because I was just always on a softball diamond, it felt like.
And I love how special sports were to you as a child.
Yeah.
You are talking about going to softball tournaments with your moms, and you sound like you were freaking very active. I mean, even in the show Are You the One, which we will be speaking about shortly, you had to be active on that TV show. There were challenges that we had to do. You had to be physically fit. And with you playing volleyball, it sounds like you played in college. Was that in college or high school? I want to hear a little bit about your sporty background, playing volleyball, getting involved in sports. Do you do any yoga currently? How do you stay physically fit?
Well, growing up, I played pretty much every sport under the sun that I possibly could. It felt like I played basketball, volleyball, soccer, softball, track. My parents are lucky it was only me because I feel like if I had any siblings, I don't know how parents do it with more than one kid because they were taking me to so many sports all the time. It seemed nuts. Yeah, I played pretty much everything. Basketball was my main sport. That's what I liked the most for a really long time. And then I actually didn't get into volleyball until middle school. And I ended up loving that even more than basketball. I was being recruited for basketball and volleyball out of high school, but I ended up choosing volleyball. And yeah, I played at McPherson for about a year. I also played for the KU travel team for a year. I went around to different colleges a lot. And I finally ended up back at Wichita State, where I still played in a league every week, but I never ended up playing for the actual school. And then here I have tried to get into it in LA. And as soon as I found a league, COVID happened. So I'm a little bummed about that. But I do want to get into that as soon as it's safe to do so, because I still love volleyball so much. And I feel like, staying in sports as you get older is so important. And, sometimes we hit the tennis courts and try to stay active. I did go to prenatal yoga as well when I was pregnant with Slevin. And that was really great. I feel like sports to me is so important because it's a stress relief for me. And I'm so used to having that stress relief my whole entire life. And now that I moved to LA, it seems like I haven't been getting that as much. So I really, really want to get back into volleyball soon. And I've been looking into this league that I really want to start back up as soon as all of the pandemic stuff is done.
I love that you just mentioned the prenatal yoga. Can we talk about that a little bit? I think that is so interesting, especially for the moms that might be listening to this or that are the women that are thinking about getting pregnant. What exactly is prenatal yoga and how did that help you develop your baby in a positive way? How did it keep you in a good mindset while being pregnant?
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep your stress levels down for while you're pregnant. And I have really bad anxiety. So it's really important to me to do things that helped me stay calm and relaxed for him. I got into prenatal yoga, not really knowing what to expect. And it's basically like an easy version of yoga. You don't do a lot of difficult poses or anything like that. They're all safe for the baby. It's very calming and they do work your legs and things like that. But and they do a lot of stretching. I just remember at the end of the sessions always feeling so calm. And it's actually really cool because I feel like it gives you sort of an hour or however long your session is to bond with your baby because meanwhile, they'll do poses where you just kind of lay there and you have your hands on your belly and you can feel them kick. And I feel like sometimes you forget to stop and have moments like that throughout the days. Whereas with prenatal yoga, you're working out, you're also staying calm, and you're also kind of bonding with your baby. So I highly recommend. It was great. And if we get pregnant again, I will for sure be doing that every pregnancy.
Well, Boss Babes Fanatics, you guys just heard it first right out of Shelby's mouth that if you are thinking about getting pregnant or you are currently pregnant, prenatal yoga is something you should incorporate into your pregnancy. It sounds like it's a great way to help keep your stress levels down and maybe even help the baby develop properly and also help keep your body more fluid so you can be active throughout your pregnancy. I know some people that just think it's okay to sit around on your couch all day. And I'm like, hey, like not only are you going to put on a ton of weight that you probably don't need, but you're going to get up and your body and your bones are not going to feel good. So I love the idea of the prenatal yoga. You guys are now listening to Shelby Yardley. She is a really good friend of mine. We've known each other for close to a decade now, which to me is absolutely freaking mind-blowing.
Yes,
you guys are now listening to her talk all about growing up in Kansas. She grew up in a small town called Derby. We just recently talked about her family life, what she enjoyed for her birthdays, and sports as a kid, staying active, the fact that she has a son, she's married. Stay with us. We have so many fabulous topics to talk about. We are going to switch on into it, but we are going to keep it very brief because Shelby is currently an actress, but we know that she started off with reality TV. So, we have to talk a little bit about Are You the One? Her season aired basically right after mine. I filmed my season, I think in 2013 or 2014. It was season 1. Season 2, what I thought was really awesome was a lot of us became really friends. Like we all kind of like bonded over that experience. But season 1 and season 2 connected very well after filming. A lot of us actually moved out to Los Angeles, which we will also be talking about. But Shelby, first off, what sparked your interest in wanting to get on a reality TV show to begin with?
Acting, actually. When I was at Wichita State, I was studying, I was a psych major. And for some reason, I don't know, I don't know if it was like a movie that I watched or just, I know I had always wanted to, kind of try out the entertainment industry at some point when I was younger, I wanted to, but like I said, sports always got in the way of that. So when I was in college and I was studying, I was like, oh, this would be like a cool time to just try out some acting lessons for fun. I wasn't really expecting anything out of it. I was like, maybe I'll be terrible. I didn't really know. I just wanted to try something new. And I started taking a few lessons and I was like, okay, this is fun. I would like to keep studying, keep trying to figure out how to, just see where it goes. And I think it was only like 3 months in maybe of me doing lessons. I had actually been watching your season with one of my friends, and I loved the show. I thought it was so fun. And I went to Google, and I remember it was like Midwest, like acting auditions. I didn't know what I was doing. Randomly, MTV second season of your show was casting, and I was like, oh, okay, like I love that show. I guess I'll just apply. I'm not going to get it, whatever. And I mean, the rest. I started going through that whole process, and I would say like 3 months after I sent in the very first little application to them, I was flying out to Puerto Rico. And I feel like from there, everything just kind of changed and snowballed.
So your season was filmed in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know that, but my season was actually filmed in Hawaii. So that's cool that both of our seasons were filmed somewhere sort of tropical.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of your top memories from that show? Of course, I just want to keep this very brief because, again, Shelby is now currently an actress. Literally, just this past weekend, guys, she starred in a film on Lifetime. So that is such more, I don't know, it's just like bigger news, I think. Like, I'm so excited that she's in a film called Driven to Kill. But of course, we have to talk about the fact that she was on reality TV. So, Shelbs, what is your top memories from being on Are You the One? Even though it was like 10 years ago.
I know, I'm like, let me think back on this.
I know, it's like, do I even remember what happened?
Right. I think just like the experience in general, like just having that experience was so eye-opening and cool. And it's definitely a once in a lifetime thing. You know what I mean? Like there's not very many people that get chances like that. And so I made sure that I use that opportunity to learn from it and grow from it and just make the best out of whatever I was given. And I would say, like, I thought the challenges were so much fun. Between the challenges and the ceremonies, I think those were the best parts. And also the relationships that you build along the way.
And speaking of the relationships that you built along the way, I, of course, had to ask you, are you still close friends with any of the cast? Of course, as we already mentioned, you and I stayed friends over the years. I still talk to people from both season 1 and season 2. Mm-hmm. I didn't really watch any of the other seasons. I know there's like season 7 or 8 that has come out. But I think what happened to me was, I mean, I really don't really watch much reality TV anymore. I think it's just like an age thing. I'm in my 30s now. So I feel like after your season, I kind of just like stopped watching it, which might have happened to you as well. But who else are you still in touch with? Are you good friends with anybody besides obviously Ashley from my season?
Yeah. Ashley is one of my best friends. She's one of my bridesmaids. So I'm super good friends with her. Obviously, still keep in touch with you. From my season, I actually don't really talk to many people. I would say I talk to Bree and Alex the most. Guy Alex, he's in LA. So yeah, we still chat here and there. But honestly, I feel like those are the only two people that I really talk to. I guess Ellie, like here and there. We're both moms, so we have that similarity to bond over still, and so I still chat with her here and there. But other than that, I don't really talk to anybody else.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like it was so long ago, and as you mentioned, all of us still have that tight knit bond. I feel like if you bumped into somebody else from your cast, whether it be at like a party or like in LA somewhere, you would probably go up and be like, "Hey, what's up? Like, how are you?" It's kind of like a sisterhood and a brotherhood for the rest of your life, but you don't necessarily keep in touch with people all the time. And I feel like I had to ask because I always get DMs all the time, like, Britt, who do you still talk to? Who are you friends with? And it's like, guys, that show was filmed so long ago. And yes, it's on Netflix, but like Shelby's a mom now. I've been talking about getting engaged. A lot of our friends are either like our castmates have been living in different states or getting married or having kids. And it's like, we just have our own lives now. But yes, of course, we text or DM each other or keep up with each other on social media and support one another when we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just talk a little bit about Los Angeles. So we have been poking the bear a little bit. Obviously, we are going to be talking about acting, which I cannot wait to get into that. But what ultimately made you decide to move to LA? And it happened very shortly after shooting your season of Are You the One? And a lot of us moved out there. Like, I feel like a whole group of season 1 and season 2 people from Are You the One, just like at the same time, decided to pack up their crap, move out to LA, and start like new lives. So let's talk about that decision. What made you leave Kansas to ultimately plant your roots somewhere else?
I think it was something that I've always wanted to do. Like I said, it's something that I never thought would actually happen, but in the back of my head, I remember, and my parents still remind me of how when I was little, I always said I wanted to be in Hollywood. And because of Are You the One and my acting lessons and just everything, I think there was just something in me that was like, you know what, this is my path. This is what I need to do. This is how, everything was just snowballing for me at that point. I was supposed to have 1 year left of college and I never ended up going. My mom was like, are you sure? Like, I think you should have a backup plan. I was like, Mom, I'm doing it. This is what I'm meant to do. It was like one of those like little moments in a movie where you're like, I'm going. Yeah. So I didn't finish my last year. I used my money from the show to pick up everything that I knew and just move here. And I moved here all by myself. The only people I knew, a couple castmates that were living here at the time, obviously, like we were talking about. But outside of that, I had no family, no friends here. And for some reason, there was just something in me that was like, I'm going to use this money and I'm going to go after this crazy dream and see what happens.
I'm so happy that you are able to talk about it. And it's kind of cool for me to sort of reflect as you're speaking about it, because I kind of did the same thing. Although I've never really been interested in acting per se, but I actually moved out there because I wanted to get into TV hosting. And when you think of it, like LA, New York, those are the places where the movies are created. Those are the places where people have the red carpets and these big parties and these big events. A lot of them actually, Shelby and I freaking attended. Her and I walked more red carpets probably than I can count on my fingers and toes. Like, it was such a fun experience. And I encourage anybody that's listening, if you ever get the opportunity to either vacation in LA for a little bit or live out there, to totally do it. But aside from the fun parts of LA, I know we are talking about that. I kind of wanted you and I to speak a little bit about the struggle. Like, you just recently spoke about moving out there with no friends and family, having to potentially get like a restaurant job, which is what I did, not really knowing how to pay bills because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in my 20s. What do I do? So can we talk a little bit about the struggle of packing up, moving to a new place, not really having friends or family, and kind of just trying to like navigate life out there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at least when you first move here, it's mainly struggling. It's struggle is an understatement. Yeah, when I first moved here, I got lucky enough to have just like a little place for a month and stay there until I figured out where to live. And I ended up finding my roommate, who is now my best friend, and she's my maid of honor. I found her on some roommate website and had to just like, I went and met her and I was like, okay, cool, this seems good. And that ended up working out great, obviously. But yeah, I had to find her on some website. I can't even remember what it was. Then from there, you know, the next thing is like, okay, so what am I going to do for money? Like, how am I going to survive here while doing all of this? And I think that's the crazy part. And that's the hardest part. I feel like that it's the hardest part to make it past. I remember I had like, oh my gosh, at one point I had like 6 jobs at once, like not even kidding. I was a waitress. I did promo modeling. I did like Postmates. I was a receptionist. I was a waitress. I did so many different things. It's insane, while also trying to make sure that you know, keep up with your headshots and do your auditions and all the acting things. Yeah, I think like the cost of living also is just a crazy thing that you have to try to adjust to and figure out how to work with, because it can really make or break you.
I can 100% agree with that. I remember being out there, and as you mentioned, we both moved out there with a decent amount of money because we won prize money from our show.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there being like, okay, like month after month, this is like a couple $1,000s for rent, and like gas is like $4 a gallon. I mean, this was 7 years ago. I don't even know how much the stuff is nowadays. Food is like overpriced. The cost of living, as Shelby is talking about, is freaking astronomical. So you need to
Yeah.
have like 1 or 2 or even 3 roommates. Like when I lived out there, I actually roomed with Ryan Malady from my season and one of his guy friends from back in Colorado. So I'm glad you guys are listening to Shelby and I talk about the struggle of chasing a dream, but we also want to encourage you guys to get out there and do it, because Shelby's living proof. She moved out there, she busted her butt for a number of years, and here she is now. Met an amazing guy. I'll assume she met him out in LA, which we will talk about soon. I cannot wait to learn about her husband. She met a great guy out there. She now has a son. She is doing audition tapes and such all the time. And again, she has a brand new film out. None of that probably would have happened had she not said to her mom, like, Mom, I know you want me to finish college, but I know that I need to get out there and start this new dream. So, Shelby, I am so freaking excited for you. Let's talk a little bit more about the struggle. So, like, you talk about working all these freaking jobs, having to go to these auditions. Back in the day, I would assume they were in person. So, like, what did you use to say to your waitress job when you're like, oh gosh, like I have an audition today? Like, how did you get around managing all of that?
Yeah, I mean, when you look for a job out here and you're an actor, you have to make sure that you can find a job that will give you the flexibility that you need, which is really tough. On top of everything else, you know, you're so limited to what jobs you can do, because you have to make sure it's something where they're fine with you just taking off spur of the moment. I got an audition today and I have to go like right now, like in an hour. I have to put everything down and just go. And even with waitressing, I mean, a lot of times waitress jobs out here, they are good with that. But like same day auditions, I mean, you just got to figure something out or get an extension on the audition or something. And it's tough to find jobs that will do that for you. And, you know, like with my receptionist job, I remember they were fairly flexible. Like, you know, you could find somebody to cover for you. And I think that's probably the best kind of job you can have, is something where somebody can cover for you last minute if you need to. But even then, you don't really know if somebody will, you know, it's definitely tough.
I feel like so many people that are listening to this podcast, they're going to find this relatable, because we were all really young at one point. I mean, what the heck? We're still fairly young now, but we all had that innate, natural, like, I would call it intuition and be like, all right,
Yeah.
I think I'm meant to be doing this. I don't really know like what the path is to do this, but I gotta
Right.
just freaking somehow haul all of my crap across the US. Like I
Yeah.
have to figure out friends, figure out a job, figure out where to live, and just like somehow make ends meet and pay bills while doing auditioning. So I'm
Yeah.
so freaking pumped we are able to talk about these topics because I feel like people don't know like where to start when they want to dream chase. And it's like, I would say the biggest advice is like, just do it, right, Shelbs? Like, just freaking do it. If you
Just
want to
do
do it,
it.
do it.
That's my advice. Just do it. And I mean, also, you're going to feel like so new at first. I remember when I moved out here, learning the whole entertainment industry is a whole nother thing because, like, you don't know how to differentiate between good jobs, not so good jobs, like, you know, good. You don't know who directors are around here. You don't know who's producing it. You don't know what networks they're on or anything like that. And I feel like it's such a learning process as well. So on top of all of that, you're also kind of like trying to figure it all out. And it's just, it takes time. Yeah, for sure.
And I appreciate all of that advice for the listeners. You guys are now listening to the Boss Babes Lifestyle Sports Podcast. Of course, this is not your typical sports show. I am so freaking thrilled right now to have on my good friend, actress Shelby Yardley. You guys are listening to her talk all about moving out to LA to chase a dream. Stay with us because we are going to be speaking more about acting, more about her freaking film that literally just dropped this month, the month of September, like this past weekend. So when I release this podcast episode next week, I cannot wait for people to hopefully be able to stream it or save it and watch it. Again, that film is called Driven to Kill, and she plays a character named Brittany Green. But before we get into that, we have been talking about moving out to LA and kind of like rerouting your life. Like you were growing up in a small city with your family and you're like, dude, I got to get out here. I need to chase this dream. And while being out there, you met Brennan. Is that the correct way to say his name?
Yeah, Brennan.
Awesome. So Shelby is currently married. Congratulations. And I believe you guys did a smaller scale wedding due to COVID. So keep me updated on the future wedding date because if it happens to be in the fall at some point, that's when my boyfriend doesn't play baseball. I would love to come to the wedding because I do know that I got an original invite.
Yes.
But everything started getting switched around. So keep me updated. If it's in the fall, we will be there. But let's talk about Brennan. So he's also an actor, writer, and producer himself. And
Yes.
for me to see you be in such a happy and healthy relationship, like makes me so excited because Lord knows you and I have both dated toxic guys and we won't even talk about that topic. We are going to stray away from it. But Shelby and I, and most people have dated toxic people. And the reason why I'm using that word toxic is also because there's a character in Shelby's movie who is super toxic. So we are going to be talking all about avoiding toxic individuals. But Shelbs, let's talk about Brennan. How did you guys meet? How do you guys work together as a team? And let's talk a little bit about the wedding.
Yeah, well, we met at a bar in Hollywood. It would have been in 2017. Yeah, it pretty much from the moment we met, it was just instant chemistry, instant sparks, and we were in a relationship a couple months later. And from then, our relationship has grown. He's freaking amazing. He's so incredibly talented. I feel so lucky to have found him because I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but like in LA, finding love, it's like, I'm never going to find love here. Like it's nuts. People are so into their careers and just not looking to be in relationships. I don't think any of us really are. We're always so in our own world, but when I met him, it was such a happy surprise. Speaking of toxic relationships, I had just been in one prior to meeting him. And so it was such a nice change to meet him and be around him. And yeah, since then, we have developed a company together, Wasteland Entertainment, and we've learned that we work amazing together. It's crazy because like everything that I lack, he has, and everything that he lacks, I have. And so it's just a really cool working relationship. And, you know, to get to work with your husband is just the funnest thing ever. That's been really great. And as far as our wedding goes, we were supposed to be married in March 2020. And COVID happened, as you guys know, actually literally the week that we were supposed to be married. We were supposed to get married that Saturday, and the Monday of that week, everything shut down. And we were like, seriously, if we would have been married the weekend before, it could have happened. But crazy timing. But anyways, we ended up pushing it till Valentine's Day this year, and that also didn't happen. And so we ended up deciding, screw it, we're just gonna get married on our anniversary, just have the same anniversary, and then we made it pretty small, and then we'll have actually a bigger wedding next year, you know, whenever the time permits. But I would love to have my grandparents there, and I know Brennan feels the same. And with them not being able to travel right now, you know, we want to make sure that we can have that when the people, you know, important to us can be there.